so begins.
Happy Christmas, Leo.
Yeah, happy Christmas, Leo.
'Tis the season. We are talking about DEATHCEMBER. This is actually an anthology movie produced in Germany, but it actually features a number of movies from around the world, and you've got a couple of recognisable faces that will pop up. Barbara Crampton, Tiffany Shepard is also one of them, which is directed by Pollyanna McIntosh, and is essentially themed around an advent calendar. So you have 24 very short stories. There's actually slightly more because there's actually a couple of bonus ones in the after credits. But essentially 24 stories to represent the run up to Christmas and what you'd open on an advent calendar, all with a kind of Christmas theme. Not all horror, to be honest with you. There's a couple of dramatic crime ones, there's a sci-fi ones, but mostly kind of horror. And the thing is here, they're all extremely short. So we're talking really just a matter of 2 or 3 minutes on occasion. So this presents a anthology movie where, obviously, because it's such a short running time, they're more vignettes rather than kind of fully developed stories. So it plays a little differently, like a lot of anthology films that sometimes have 3 or 4 movies, in which case you more or less have a fully developed theme. Whilst this one is more just shortcuts. Now, because of that, I think this movie has a little bit of a challenge, because you can never really get to know any. I mean, I have a problem with anthology movies, and the fact that I feel because of the short running time, you never really get fully developed characters, and you can never really kind of root for the characters a lot of the time, with a few exceptions. But when you have 24 stories over the course of this movie, of which they're really only a few minutes a piece, there's no chance of that. I actually have to say, I think the movie is better suited watching a little short film a day. Because to be honest with you, watching all of these films in one sitting, it becomes a little tiresome, I'm not going to lie, because you never really buy into the stories. And far too many of these stories simply end up with someone getting stabbed by someone unexpected, normally with a kitchen knife. In fact, I would say about a third of these stories, it involves someone getting stabbed, normally with a kitchen knife. So they're a little bit similar, some of them. There are a couple of bright spots here. I had 4 that stuck to mind that I'll kind of talk about. There's too many to talk about individually. For the bright spots, the first one was kind of a Reservoir Dogs style kind of crime caper on Christmas, and this was, for the short running time, was quite smart. And there is actually even a play on the kind of the Reservoir Dog name thing there, which I thought was quite good, quite well shot, and quite well directed in the fact that it almost has a Memento style conceit where you watch scenes that happened previously, but in kind of an order where you're kind of watching in reverse, so to speak. But it works, it makes sense, and I thought that was one of the cleverer movies. I think the one that will stick out the most in people's mind is the animated one. And it's kind of like a claymation style animation, and the characters look kind of like, I don't know if you know Gumby, there's like a character called Gumby, they kind of remind me of that. Now this is actually by far and away the most shocking. And if this wasn't animation, it would be probably bad, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to say what happens, but if you're kind of watching it with these animated figures, it kind of lessens the impact to a certain degree. But you think about what it's saying and what it's actually showing, you think, oh, Jesus, that is really hard. And it's certainly one of the most memorable. And it's well animated and kind of, it's done in a weird way because the characters look all super cute, but it's a very, very dark subject matter. That one kind of sprang to mind. There's a quite slow one, which is actually an Old West one. And this is the only one of the films where I say that they have a good attempt at some characterization. And this is these 2 friends, both who are injured, trying to essentially fend off some encroaching beast, and they ultimately know their time's up. And I liked it because you got, in that short running time, you at least got a good sense of characterization and the relationship between these two characters in such a short running time, right? And I applaud it for that. It ends a little bit on a kind of like, you know, but there you go. But I like the movie because of the characterization and the acting, to be honest. And then there's one other kind of quite clever one, which is kind of a sci-fi one, and where it almost feels like a kind of a 50s style kind of aesthetic, but it's actually a kind of a scientific movie. And this I felt was good because it had in such a short running time, it told you a kind of a complete story. And I think there's the twist with that one is quite revealing and quite poignant and kind of works. So they to me were the 4 best ones. There are a few other ones which I thought were okay. You know, not bad, certainly worth a watch, but they were the 4 for me at least that stuck out. There are some ones here that I felt were pointless, to be honest with you. There's even a couple where I feel they're more or less there just to kind of so the director can show, check out my cinematography. Ooh, can I capture a good like angle and stuff like that with no real substance to the story. Some of them I feel think they're a little bit too, you know, too clever than they actually are. And like I said, a lot of them are actually a little bit samey, and some of them seem pointless. I mean, there's one which, to be fair, wasn't badly shot, but it's just like it's just about a skating accident, and there's no real story. It's just there's a skating accident. So as with a lot of anthologies, it's a mixed bag. But the problem I think with this one, which is more unique because it's such a short running time, is it's a lot to take in one go, and I think it actually would work better as a literal kind of advent calendar where you watch a shorter day, and I think you would enjoy them and get more out of the stories that way rather than watching them as a whole. Because, like I've said, it's a little bit of a bombardment. So many kind of like different characters and working as small little vignettes spread out, I think it works better rather than just kind of saying, oh look, it's a surprise killer on a third of these movies that, oh look, I didn't see that coming. Not. Where I feel some of these movies are a little bit too similar. Like some of these movies are spoken in other languages other than English, so bear that in mind as well. So if you don't like reading subtitles, there's probably about a quarter of these movies are not English. It's a mixed bag, as with a lot of these anthology films, but this one, I think it does work in the conceit that it's trying to be an advent calendar, but how you consume it, I actually think is better if you just watch this as a series of short films every day in the run up to Christmas. That would be quite fun. It's not much of a commitment. Watching it as one go, I don't actually recommend, because I don't feel you get much from it because of that. And the impact of the individual films, I think, is lessened because it comes a little bit like white noise after a while. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. There are some good production design here, production value. And there's a mixed bag in regards to kind of acting and how effective the stories are. I've seen worse. There are certainly some interesting ones on here, but it is a real spectrum of bad to actually quite good. So there you go, 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.